1. I've told this story a few times in my personal life, including on my boyfriend's podcast. But apparently it's still a riot, so I want to share it here. So earlier this year, I was dumped by my ex and decided to try dating apps for the first time. After a while, I decided to take dating seriously and stop trying to relive my hoe days. Guys and girls came and messaged me, but they wanted nothing more than a hookup. I was feeling bummed until I saw I matched with a couple of guys that I thought were cute. One of them I'll call Fishbeard, Fishy for short. Fishy was, fishy from the beginning. I noticed he wasn't consistent in his stories and would change his life story based on whatever I said. For example, he told the story about how he jumped oil barrels in the desert and was thrown several feet from his dune buggy. I made a comment about how painful that must have been, but he assured me that he was such a badass that he didn't feel the pain and just walked funny for a month, which in later retellings turned into a week or 2 months. To that I said that's why I prefer more relaxing activities like singing in my old choir classes. He then talked about how he was a proud theater kid and chess master. When I asked him about these activities, his details were not as vivid, and he seemed to struggle to talk about them. After just a few hours of talking on the app, yes, he was that inconsistent from the very beginning, he asked for my number. I didn't think much of it since I figured I could always block him if I decided he was too much to handle. So I gave it and received a text immediately asking for a picture to prove it's me. I didn't even have a chance to tell him he was being silly because he video called me. Why did I answer that call? 'Cause I'm a dumbass. When he appeared on screen, I nearly audibly muttered, "God damn it!" He was a good 100 to 120 pounds heavier than his profile pictures. Nah, I'm a big bitch. 360 pounds at 5'7". I've dated men of various body types, crushed on women of all body types. All people are beautiful, but he lied to me. I was straight up when I presented myself in my profile. No surprises. I asked why he lied, and he sheepishly said he was self-conscious and didn't think people would date him. I told him that I understood, but he has to be honest if he wants to date anyone seriously. The call was spent with me trying to make small talk while he cleans his room for 2 minutes at a time, then took long video game breaks. He wouldn't respond to what I said because he wasn't paying attention. I got triggered because my ex would do the same thing to me. I told myself that I wouldn't excuse said behavior for anyone anymore, and excused myself and hung up. He sent a text asking why I hung up with a sad face. I said he wasn't engaging with me and I didn't want to watch him play video games, especially when all I can see is just him slumped on a chair. He begged to call me back because he just wants my company. I said that a call like that wasn't company and I don't want to waste my time when I want to go out on dates and have fun. He then proposed that we go on a date that weekend. I reluctantly agreed and checked my other matches. Why did I agree to go on that date? Because I was still working on my self-esteem but not quite there yet. And I'm a dumbass. Cut to that Friday, when I met him at the train station. I wasn't too familiar with the area and decided to wait where I thought I would be visible and safe. A woman sitting with her guy friend saw my makeup and complimented me. I complimented her back on her hair and we girl talked while I waited. Finally, Fishy showed up. When he approached, he looked to my new acquaintances and stopped a few feet away. I excused myself after exchanging numbers with the woman. Fishy tried to kiss me, but I dodged it by waving back at the woman. He asked who she was, and I said a new friend. As we waited for the train, I explained how we met and how we bonded quickly over beauty stuff. She seemed really weird, he scoffed and scooted closer to me. I took offense because she was sweet and tried to give me dating safety advice since I explained to her how I was new to meeting online matches. I tried to move away from him, but he kept getting closer. I almost fell off the bench, but he didn't budge from my side. He noticed my displeasure and cited that she was weird because she had guy friends. Pump the brakes. My best friend is a guy, and I do not tolerate men that would be jealous and think my bestie is a problem. I explained this to Fishy, and he seemed displeased and kept asking about my bestie, such as if he had a girlfriend and if he was into big women. I changed the topic by asking where we would be going. He said he was going to take me somewhere nice to eat and find someplace quiet to talk. I eased up then, even though he still sat too close to me on the train ride, because I thought the date idea sounded lovely. My past experiences with dating haven't been great, so a normal-sounding date was a breath of fresh air. But of course, he had to be fishy. He took me to the Burger King that was right outside our train stop, to which I told him I wasn't a fan of that fast food place. He said it was what he wanted and didn't want to walk any farther as his pants were killing him. I didn't make a fuss, just decided to order a drink instead. He spent his meal making fun of a homeless guy and showing me YouTube kids videos to make fun of. Innocent kids cosplaying and singing, and all he had to say was how dumb they looked. I flat out told him that I wasn't having a good time. He insisted things were going great and that he was having a good time getting to know his new goth girlfriend. Cue the internal screaming. I excuse myself to go to the bathroom and try to pee out my frustration. As I'm peeing, I hear the door handle jiggle. Occupied?
It's me. Let me in,
whispered Fishy. More internal screaming as I hurried to finish. I was done. I was not that self-conscious. When I got out of the bathroom, I told him I had to go home. He whined that he thought I was going to spend the night with him at a motel room that he expected me to pay for since he bought lunch. Excuse me, from what planet did he come from where that made sense? A lunch that I didn't eat was equivalent to a hotel room? I insisted on going home. I walked to the train station and he followed. Fishy kept trying to convince me that a motel was a great idea, and if not that night, then maybe another time. I only said I would think about it because I was worried of how he might react if I told him the truth, that I didn't want to see him ever again. He tried to give me another kiss when I got off the train. Luckily, his train was already coming into the station, so I got away with a quick peck on the cheek as I ran off to catch my bus home. The entire time he kept trying to call and text me to call him back. I sent one reply that my phone was dying, to buy myself time to think of how I want to phrase it to this guy, that I don't want to date him. I knew it had to be clear and to the point. When I got home, I texted him, "Hey, I don't think we should keep seeing each other. We're not a good match."
What? Why?
You made fun of a homeless guy and a bunch of kids, and you tried to walk in on me in a public restroom.
I thought we were having a great time.
I told you I didn't. We can be friends, maybe? Why did I say that? You already know. Next day was my first date with the other guy I matched with, my current boyfriend, who I'll just call Handsome. It went amazingly, and I was excited to see where the relationship would go from there. The next week, I get a text from Fishy while getting ready to go on a second date with Handsome.
Hey girl.
Sup, dude?
What are you doing? I'm bored.
Getting ready to go out on a date. Find something to do.
Hoping I could do you.
Winky face. Ew.
I could just come over anyway and eat you out, and you take it like a good girl.
If you somehow find me, I got pepper spray waiting for you.
What does this guy look like anyway?
Why? He's my man. You can't have him.
No the fuck? I just want to see who's taking my girl and my second chance from me. See who's making you happy.
At that point, the arrogance made it easy to block Fishy. Aside from dating Handsome, blocking Fishy was the first smart decision I've made on this chapter of my life. Fishy had a weird amalgamation of traits from my past boyfriends. This next part is going to sound cheesy and probably make this post seem fake. Saying goodbye to him was like saying goodbye to the part of myself that made me such a target to these kinds of people. We joke about how out of touch and cringe neckbeards and nice guys are, but if left with people that are vulnerable, they can do some damage. Made a couple posts a while ago about A-Hole, the biggest neckbeard I knew. I needed quite some time to recover from his harassment, and it took me an embarrassingly long time to recover from my past beards. 2. I've had my share of encounters with neckbeards, but this just happened days ago, and I thought I might share it. I do have an eating disorder that I have worked with for years, but I don't get easily triggered by others for their opinions. If it is a me problem, I know how to work with it. This guy, I didn't catch his name, I'll call Ogre. I started in this program for those with long sick leave, disabilities and such, to come back out to society and gain regular routines in life. I'm not the most social person, but I was open-minded and knew that every person in this program has their issues and diagnoses, and I followed the rules in the program. I did, however, have an issue with the no perfume, need to respect those with an allergy. With my anxiety, perfumes or anything that I think smells good helps me regain balance and calm. But alas, I didn't wear any perfumes when I went there. But I didn't appreciate that 2 people there had such bad hygiene. Call me insensitive if you wish. I know people with depression have a tendency to forget hygiene. But come on, both of them smelled like wet socks and unclean locker rooms. I didn't say anything the first time. But wow, when this ogre opened his mouth the other day, I felt like screaming. Other rules in the program: no politics, no talking about eating disorders or certain disorders that may trigger the others in the program. But this ogre didn't really give a shit. It was like he had his own lecture about the right females and was keeping eye contact with me. I know I shouldn't have been as annoyed as I was, but he didn't actually direct me into the conversation, but keeping that long eye contact and not even blinking. My sensors went in head. In the program, you can choose to eat breakfast, lunch, and even dinner. The supervisor and people in the program cook together, and I've chosen not to eat the times I've been there. Ogre had heard me rejecting to eat that day, so his talk about the right females was wife, etc., accepting of kinks and whatnot. I didn't get offended until he talked about food intake. We're not supposed to judge or criticize those who don't want to eat, but he just went off, talking about females that starve themselves in the hope of getting a Chad who only focuses on sex and body, so face didn't matter. And Ogre even talked about females who skip food just to stay tight and to have tight privates. When he mentioned tight privates, his look at me was so intense he even licked his lips. I looked around. 3 supervisors were in the room. Only one said, "Ogre, you know we don't talk like that here." She even laughed and actually commented on his speech about it. This is one of the oldest in the program. Ogre and I am about 28. I texted my boyfriend to pick me up. I had 1 hour left to be there, but I wasn't going to sit around and maybe risk me attacking him. I felt disgusted and super mad, but instead of acting out like I used to, I chose to walk away from the situation. I have anger issues and have been through anger management for almost 2 years. I did have a conversation with the supervisor about this, and they are a woman, one of them who knew a bit about my traumas and issues. But she actually defended Ogre, saying, "We've known him for a long time. It's just who he is, and you're the only one with complaints." I mentioned that I don't wear perfume in order to respect everyone, but how come he and another person smell like garbage and it's okay? He can talk like that, but I can't wear something sweet to smell on when I use aromatherapy to balance my anxiety? And I even had to remind her about the rules. Everyone signs contracts of understanding and such before starting, and I felt like because they have known him longer, he can get away with it. Her response: "We've known Ogre long, and it's his fault that he finds you attractive because you're his type." Also, no relations are allowed there. I don't give a fluff if I'm his type, and her even saying that made me so much more angry. Apparently he directed it towards me because I'm a mix, Latina, and the only mixed girl in the program. Ogre is a heavy-set man that smells like a dumpster. Poking eyes, no mustache, but a thin beard that looks like pubes. Sweaty and uncomfortable to listen to. To say the least, I dragged my consult into this. She got pissed and took me out of that program. 3. After years of thinking about it, I am finally prepared to offer up the epic tale of Jellybeard. Now bear in mind, I was a really stressed out and tightly wound kid, especially during this period of my life. so I definitely put up with a lot of shenanigans back then that I would no longer tolerate. Also, this was over 10 years ago, so a few details are a little fuzzy. Let me set the scene. I'm from the American Midwest. At the time, I was about 17 or 18, working a summer job at the young adults section of the downtown public library. I was mainly a front desk attendant, but I also shelved books, helped at events, etc. As I'm sure many of you know, public libraries, particularly the young adult sections, attract beards aplenty in all their forms. Between the tabletop tournaments and the manga titties, they just can't keep themselves away, and I met a plethora of beards during that summer. So I was first introduced to Jellybeard by Grumpy Geek on my first day at work. Grumpy Geek is a friend of mine, kinda grumpy, kinda geeky dude, who was my innocent little first kiss back when we were 12. We never dated or anything, and just later acknowledged it as cute and stayed friends. The two of them and a few others were part of an ever-changing group of friends who hung around the main desk and played games or talked books with the librarians. It was honestly a really nice dynamic they had. Initially, Jellybeard and I hit it off pretty well. He was a great conversationalist, actually. He had a remarkably jealous nature. Physically, he was vaguely reminiscent of Nelson Muntz from The Simpsons. He was short and pudgy, with stringy, dirty brown hair, and a shaggy, nondescript shape. He went back and forth between being baby-faced and having a wispy, scraggly little mustache and neckbeard hairs. He always wore baggy, saggy jeans and loose shirts over ratty Converse shoes, and he smelled dusty. He liked reading, and he was pretty funny. So for the first several weeks that I worked there, I was happy because I had made a new friend. I didn't recognize until later some of the early signs of the trouble to come. One such sign happened pretty early, I'd say within the first 3 weeks on the job or so. I was at work sitting at the desk with my boss, Grumpy Geek, and Jellybeard. It was then that Skinny Goth hit the scene. Skinny Goth was a super skinny anime-looking guy. Piercings, dramatic hair, clothes, eyeliner, etc. An easygoing good timer overall. He had just moved back to the state and was ready to visit his old stomping grounds. Right off, I did notice a little tension between Skinny Goth and Jellybeard, but it was pretty obviously one-sided. Jellybeard was sort of defensive, and obviously felt competitive with Skinny Goth, who was a lot more socially smooth and popular and attractive. Skinny Goth and I clicked right away as friends, and we started joking around and laughing pretty quickly. He made some comment or asked a question that prompted Jellybeard to say something like, "Well, you obviously don't know Peaches very well." I think he was trying to establish some kind of image like he and I were close, just as a joke. Skinny Goth placed a hand on my shoulder and said, "What do you mean? Me and Peaches are old friends." Just playing along, I said something like, "Yeah, me and Skinny Goth go way back." Jellybeard got pissed. He scrunched up his face, obviously peeved, which only encouraged us. The madder he got, the more puckered his face got. I wasn't too bothered about it at the time, and Jellybeard cooled off quickly enough, but looking back, I think this incident served as the catalyst for Jellybeard's ever-rising levels of jealousy. I also met Mini America right around this time. Mini America was a tiny, sardonic pseudo-intellectual who, like Jellybeard, was a good enough conversationalist we stayed friends for a while, until he turned out to be basically an incel and men's rights activist. Mini America also had some beef with Jellybeard that I never fully understood. Maybe they just didn't like each other, but for whatever reason they would sometimes follow me around while I worked and argue with each other and badger me with questions. During one of those afternoons that they were following me around, Jellybeard and Mini America had a weird theoretical conversation about dating me. But how bro code dictated, they couldn't ask me out if they wanted to because of me and Grumpy Geek's history. They talked about our history like we were divorced 45-year-olds with a cordial understanding. We pecked each other on the lips to lose our kiss virginity when we were literally 12, but okay, whatever. I'm not a super stuck-up person, and I was even less so at the time. But it was pretty evident at that point that Jellybeard, Skinny Goth, and Mini America all had developed some level of crush on me. I had eyes only for Bubs at the time, the guy I liked and was talking to long distance, and I talked about him a lot. I was so lovesick, I talked about him to Grumpy Geek just as a friend, but I also mentioned him here and there to the others as little reminders that I wasn't interested in any of them. As the summer progressed, Jellybeard's feelings intensified. I remember one day at the desk I drew a little picture of a bear. It was by no means a masterpiece, but Jellybeard made a big deal about it and how much he liked it, so I said he could have it. We made up a name for the bear, let's say Peter. The next day he came in all smug and excited with a surprise for me. He had written a poem with a title like Peter the Polite Pensive Bear. It was cute, but didn't do anything for me. Skinny Goth got a hold of it and read it, saying, "I like the way the title all starts with the same letters." And Jellybeard, in perhaps his beardiest move of all, informed him in a condescending tone, "It's called alliteration." One day after work, Jellybeard and I walked a block or two to Starbucks to have a coffee with my Uncle T. I was happy to introduce my friend to Uncle T, but my enthusiasm was immediately dampened as Jellybeard acted like an unabashed goober the entire time. You know when you're a kid and your little friend is trying to act grown-up to impress some nearby adults? That's how the entire visit went. We were talking about reading and books, and Jellybeard kept trying to impress Uncle T with his reading prowess and vocabulary. He kept using the word surreptitiously, commenting how much he liked it. It was unbelievably uncomfortable. The cringe was palpable. Later, Uncle T remarked to me, "That's the kind of guy you find out got a rifle one day and started picking people off from a building." Another day, a really violent thunderstorm blew into town, bad enough to cause a decent amount of damage and knock out several power grids. The library went into a safety protocol, so all staff and patrons had to wait it out in the basement. I don't like storms, and I was having a bad day, so I was pretty stressed. While we were all sitting down there, I confided to Grumpy Geek that I was feeling stressed, and he said something reassuring. After the storm passed, the library closed, so Grumpy Geek, Mini America, and I walked to Grumpy Geek's house. Jellybeard skulked and went home instead of coming with us. Later that night, he sent me a barrage of texts confessing his interest to me, demanding to know who I really liked and what was going on between me and Grumpy Geek. He and Mini America both had it in their heads that me and Grumpy Geek had something between us. I remember him texting, "I saw you two in the basement during the storm. I was honestly surprised you weren't holding hands." A few days later, we talked at work. I tried to be really understanding and smooth things out. So I said I get how it's difficult to be around someone you like who doesn't feel the same way, but I really valued his friendship and wanted to avoid further drama. I said, "I know it's hard to be friends with someone you like." "Used to like," he interjected, waggling his stubby little finger at me. For whatever reason, I let it slide in favor of the truce. But it was short-lived. As the summer wore on, tensions rose to the point that often during my shifts, it felt like there was always tension and a sour mood at the desk. It got bad enough, and for whatever stupid reason, I felt like it was my responsibility. I was taking this job seriously, as though it were a professional-level position and my salary and reputation were on the line. I was a very tightly wound kid, so I talked to my boss about it. I told him I knew it was affecting the atmosphere. He was exasperated and explained to me that this was not the first time Jellybeard had caused this kind of drama. Previously, he got fixated on at least one other girl who was in that general friend group, and that she, like me, didn't return his feelings, and their friendship fell apart. One thing led to another, and the bosses decided to temporarily ban him from sitting at the desk area. Y'all, he got so mad. I wasn't at the desk when they told him. I stood maybe 15 to 20 feet away, reshelving some books. Jellybeard slammed both hands down on the desk, stood up, and huffed out of the young adults section without a word. I was mortified. I never wanted to be associated with this kind of drama, especially publicly and at work. Little did I know the cringe had only just started. My shift ended not too long later, and bosses 1 and 2 decided, just as a precaution, to walk me out to where I was waiting on my ride. They took me out to the plaza, sort of looking around for any signs of trouble. I was embarrassed by all the attention, so I told them I'm fine, my ride will be here soon, and got them to go away. For a few minutes I just stood on the sidewalk, waiting. That's when it happened. I heard the sound of an impending bike and looked up to see none other than Jellybeard, hurtling towards me, pedaling like mad. He blew by me Fast and Furious style, very close and aggressive, and as he rode away he nonchalantly dropped one hand from the handlebars and swiped the hair from his brow. I was so stunned I didn't really feel anything right away, just disbelief at the insane display I'd just witnessed. That was the last time I really interacted with him face to face. There were a few more chilly interactions, I think, towards the end of the summer. But after my job ended, we really had no places or events in common. We didn't interact further on social media or anything. And to be honest, I forgot about him for quite a while. Then randomly, last year he reached out on Instagram. He wanted to know what I was doing, what I was up to, etc., etc. He was super friendly, upbeat and chummy, sort of the way I remember him being when we first met. Apparently he was working as a cook at a pretty good restaurant and wanted to make me dinner. He asked a couple of times in various ways if we could hang out, and I especially didn't commit to anything. When he initially brought it up, I replied with something like, "Oh, that's sweet, how have you been?" He eventually asked me about the menu for this theoretical meal he was making me, saying something like, "I've been really into making burgers lately. I like to experiment with toppings and make really unique creations." And I just replied with something vague like, burgers, followed by burger emojis, to which he replies, "Burgers it is." He pretty much made it impossible for me to spare his feelings, so I eventually had to spell out pretty plainly that I was not interested or comfortable hanging out. I did not want him to make me dinner and didn't have room in my life to be friends. He was kind of emo about it. He didn't get mad like I expected. Instead, he went the kicked puppy route. "Oh, okay. Maybe another time then." I stayed civil, but my true intention there was to have no further contact. I unfollowed him, but didn't block him to be able to keep an eye on him. He started to randomly message me every couple weeks. These weird emo messages like, "Hope you're doing well," and "Hope you're having fun." Mind you, these weren't comments on posts, literally just random messages. I never responded to any of them, and eventually just blocked him. I almost wish I hadn't, if only for the chance to have more stories. So, that's the story of Jellybeard, friends. I honestly hope he works on his issues and finds a way out of his current neckbeard mindset. Because he definitely had potential to be a cool, decent person. Oh, and I married Bubs, by the way, and he and I enjoy spotting the occasional neckbeard in the wild. 4. The following is the next installment in the saga of Brotherbeard. This chapter of Brotherbeard takes place during my darkest year. The full story of that is a different story, however, it's important to know that the home I just bought became condemned, and I lost my 4-year-old son to foster care for a full year. I hate to just brush this over, but this story makes me madder than foster care and CPS. So the first day my house was condemned. Someone stole my PS2 and my ex's laptop. So we moved my desktop as well as Zephyr's to my mother's apartment right next door. At this point, Brotherbeard had no computer, so I allowed him to use mine to play City of Heroes, while we tried to either fix the house or find a new apartment. One day, when I arrived at my mother's in the evening after cleaning my house, I sat down at my computer and turned it on. I noticed this weird spot on my monitor, so I grabbed a cleaning wipe and tried to clean it, but it didn't disappear. I confronted Brotherbeard about it, and he said, "I don't know, but I think the episodes of Cool Devices you found are not the real episodes." Cool Devices was a short hentai series where each episode was a different sexy story. I put 2 and 2 together and did not want to touch my monitor for the longest time. However, the moment that I really got pissed off with him was later, when we decided that it would be better to rent a new apartment. Man, I miss that house. So I had the hardest conversation coming up. I had to tell my mother and Brother Beard that I will be taking my computer with me, and thus leaving Brother Beard with nothing. My mother can easily be featured on Impractical Proudness of Parents, and will be, in regards to Brother Beard, so I approached my mother and said, I have some tough news. We found an apartment to rent. What she says still sticks with me today. So you want to take your computer? That's fair. Wait, what? My mother was on my side and prepared to deal with the fallout, knowing what she's getting into. Oh, now the hard part, where's Brother Beard? The apartment is small, so I bet he heard this. We went to the other end of the house and saw the outside door open. Much like when you find out that your dog just ran away. Years before this, he once said to us, "If anyone needs me, I'll be home," indicating our childhood home. He didn't make it 5 blocks then, so I was afraid that was the case this time. We ran out and quickly found him laying down in the front yard with the neighborhood kids standing around him. One kid said, "I think he's dead." My mother walked over to Brother Beard, knelt beside him and said softly, "Reluge is taking his computer." Brother Beard shot up so fast and ran down the street screaming, "No, no, 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 no." He fell in the next-door neighbor's yard. He started to flail and yell, "A one city of heroes, a one city of heroes, a one city of heroes," and knelt by his ear and said coldly, "And I want my son back. But it seems that we both aren't getting what we want, ass." I unplugged my computer and waited on my porch for my ride. After Mother got him calmed down, Brother Beard walked up to me like a puppy and says while pouting, "I was hoping to have some time to say goodbye to it." I bit my tongue so hard I swear I was going to bite it off. 5. It was a cold winter day. I had just completed basic training, and it was a few weeks before I started AIT, Advanced Individual Training. I decided to hit the PX, post-exchange. I decided to purchase a new iPhone 5S since my phone fell in the water a few days before I went to basic training, and completely crapped out on me. As I was playing around with my new phone, I didn't have any contacts, so I decided to make a Facebook and start friend requesting everybody I knew. When done, I put my phone away and decided to continue shopping. About 5 minutes later, my phone starts going crazy. I was receiving Facebook notifications and messages left to right. I went to the food court to grab a bite to eat, sat down and just started going through my notifications and messages as I was scrolling through my feed. I noticed that Hulk, a longtime family friend who had the shortest patience for stupidity and a rage which would give the Hulk a run for his money. I clicked his page to see what was new with him, and noticed he posted a video the day before, entitled it, "Who is the best tire tech?" I click on the video and notice there are 2 new techs. Kaiba Beard, a very thin, frail man who'd weigh less than 100 pounds soaking wet, who had an abnormally huge head and rocked a bowl cut, which made him look like the Dark Helmet from the movie Spaceballs. Glasses so thick he could see aliens in space, patchy, wispy facial hair, and has the physical attributes of a beached jellyfish. And also Chicago, a creepy, pervy man who for some reason loved to shave his eyebrows, completely making him look like Voldemort, and believed himself to be a lady killer. They were both hired after I left for basic training. I was a little confused because it was a small car shop, so I was a little worried I was out of a job when I came back home. I clicked on the video, and it was a race between Kaiba Beard and Tank on changing 2 tires. "Look at what we have here. A race to see who's the better, faster tire tech," said Hulk. Kaiba Beard grins and raises 2 fingers to the middle of his forehead, looking like he was about to perform a special beam cannon on Tank. Then he aggressively pointed and yells, "I'm gonna defeat you, Tank, you punk-ass bitch." Tank laughs out loud. "How many times do I have to whip your ass in a race for you to learn that you're not at my level yet?" "Oh shit, you just gonna let them say that shit, Kaiba Beard?" "Shut up, Tank." Chicago laughs. "Let me get in this action." Tank, Hulk, and Kaiba Beard yell at him to get out of there.
Take it easy, take it easy. I was trying to have some fun too.
The race continues as Kyberbeard gets the second tire off the car, with the tire not budging. Kyberbeard decides to get the tire hammer and bash away at the tire to get it off the car. All you can hear is loud thuds of the rubber mallet banging away at the rim of the tire. As the thuds continue, you can hear Kyberbeard start to get frustrated and start yelling, "Why won't this fucking tire come off?"
Hey, how about you take off all the lug nuts?
I did take off all the lug nuts.
Are you sure about that?
There was a brief moment of silence. It was interrupted by the sound of the impact gun removing 2 lug nuts, then followed by the laughter of Hulk, Tank, and Chicago at Kyberbeard's lack of attention to details.
Fuck you, Tank.
Tank, Hulk, and Chicago continue laughing as Tank defeats Kyberbeard by a landslide. I like the post and continue scrolling through Facebook. Suddenly I receive a message through Facebook from Daisy. She gave me her phone number and told me to FaceTime her ASAP, so I went ahead and obliged. "Hey you. Hey girl. Oh my god, we miss you so much. It hasn't been the same since you left for basic." "No, I miss you too." Daisy points the cam at my boss. "Hey buddy, how you doing?" "I'm doing good, just chilling, enjoying my free time before I go to AIT. How's everything going over there?" "Everything's good over here. A lot of work keeping us busy." A customer walks into the building. "Hey bud, I'm gonna let you go. Customer just walked in. You take care now." Daisy gets back on the phone and walks into the shop, and I can faintly hear Kyberbeard and Tank arguing in the background.
Get the fuck off your phone and restack that tire cart right. You have it top heavy, and it's gonna be difficult to take down.
Shut up, Tank, you're not my boss.
I don't need to be your boss to tell you you're distracted with your hentai game on your phone, and you stack the tire cart like shit.
It's not a hentai game, mind your business.
Whatever you're doing, take that cart out when it's time to, and you know what happened the last time?
Whatever, I don't care.
Daisy is visibly annoyed, sighs and continues to the other side of the shop. "Hey Hulk, guess who's on the phone?"
Who?
"It's LP.
No fucking way, bring me the phone."
Daisy passed him the phone.
Hey, motherfucker.
"Hey, bitch-ass motherfucker."
Dog, I fucking miss you, bro. It's been hella boring since you've been gone. When are you coming back?
"I still miss you, bro. I still got AIT in 3 weeks. Then it's 8.5 weeks off, so that's basically 3 months. But I don't know if I still have a job when I come back."
Why is that?
"Well, Dip hired 2 new techs, and I don't think there's any need for me."
Bro, don't worry about that. I guarantee you still have a job. Those 2 guys fucking suck, and you're better than them combined.
"Thanks, bro. That means a lot." All of a sudden, there was a loud metallic crashing sound, and the sound of rubber bouncing on the shop floor, followed by a loud shriek. Hulk and Daisy got up to see what happened, with me being the nosy guy that I am. Yo, what was that? Flip the cam, flip the cam." Hulk changes the cam view to show Kyberbeard under a tire cart full of awkwardly stacked tires.
Somebody get this off me.
I told you to restack that tire cart before taking it out, but no, you were busy playing your hentai game. Now look at you, under a tire cart for a 3rd time this month.
Shut up and help me.
What is your major malfunction, numbnuts? How many times has this happened to you for you to learn your lesson? You don't have the upper body strength to push a cart like that with your noodle arms.
Dip rushes in and yells.
WTF happened?
Tire cart fell on Kyberbeard again.
Isn't this the 3rd time this month?
Yep.
Tank, help him up.
Kyberbeard, when you get up, I want you to fucking stack the cart properly, and for the rest of this week, you will take the tire carts out and dispose of them when they're full, and before you do, you come get me so I can make sure it's stacked properly, and if it's not, you will restack them until it's stacked correctly. Hopefully this won't happen again. Spoiler, it does. And it would teach you how to do your job right. Spoiler, it doesn't. You understand? Kyberbeard's holding back tears.
Okay, boss.
Also, stop playing that damn hentai game on your phone.
Yes, boss.
With his life points fully depleted, he began to pick himself up and do what he was told to do. You can see he was visibly defeated. Hulk and Daisy walked to the back shop and burst into laughter.
As you can see, we still need you when you get back.
I see. How the fuck does a tire cart fall on someone 3 times? Yeah, he's a bit slow and clumsy. Oh, I definitely noticed that. I look at the time, and it was almost time for final formation, so I say my goodbyes, hang up my phone, and take a bus to Charlie-Co at Fort Jackson, stand for about 20 minutes, and listen to the captain and first sergeant do their final formation briefing, then release us to barracks for the night. As I laid in my bunk, a thought pops into my head, and where I knew Kyberbeard from. He looked familiar. Then I remember we went to school together, and had some of the same classes. Hey everybody, Hellfreezer here, and thank you very much for listening to Neckbeards in the Wild, episode 76. And thank you very much to everybody who allowed me to use their stories and sent in stories for use in this video. Please hit that like button and share the video around with friends and family before you go. Helps give the video a little bit of a push so more people see it. Okay, let's see. Let's move along. Life is short, so let's not hang around. Let's move along to Hellfreezer's question of the day. And today's question is, if you could remove 1 month of the year, it's done, it's gone forever, it's not coming back, the year is now 11 months long, which month would it be and why? I think I'd want to say goodbye to January. Nothing good happens in January, especially not this year. This year in January, I've got to show up for jury duty, I've got to pay taxes, and also it's the start of the sodding year. I have feelings about January. We're not friends, we're not brothers, we're not friends. Bloody January. Which month of the year really annoys you and would you like to say goodbye to if you could? I look forward to reading your answers in a comment below. I'm going to head off now. Look at me go. So until next time, thank you very much for listening, and take very good care of yourselves.